You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related, from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. I got a good one for you today, but let's be honest, every single one of these are good, right? I don't put out anything that's bad, right? I thought so. I know y'all in agreements with me on this. Wait, is it agreements? Yeah, I go again. Agreements, is that a word? I'm already starting off making up agreements. I think that's a word. I'm not even gonna Google it and check. Y'all let me know if I'm wrong. We're gonna go with it. But Mr. Anonymous, thank you for continuously supporting the show each and every month through Patreon. If y'all are interested in supporting the show and donating to the show, the advertising, anything else I can do to promote the show or equipment and things like that, Patreon or Spotify has the feature. Check it out. If you want to donate, I appreciate the love. If not, just continue to listen, share with your friends, family, social media followers, anything to get the word out there and spread the message out. I appreciate it, and I truly love everyone who continues to support me in any way that they do. Getting right into the topic, I saw this quote by Meb Keflezighi. If you're not in the running world, you won't know who he is, but he's pretty big to us runners, especially because of what he's accomplished and done for USA. But he had this quote that I saw that really hit me and kind of started my brain working on this episode. And it said, most of us have enough areas in our lives where we have to meet others' expectations. Let running be about your own hopes and your own dreams. And that really hit me because in life and athletics, there's a constant tension between meeting your own expectations and fulfilling the goals of others that they set for you. In sports, this can be seen when athletes strive to live up to the expectations of coaches, teammates, or even the fans compared to pursuing their own personal standards of success. In everyday life, individuals often wrestle with worldly expectations, family pressures, or even career aspirations that may conflict with their own desires and values. Now, I've said this before, I don't want this to come off as a Christian podcast, but I am a believer and a person of faith, so I do tend to want to share certain Bible verses that I feel have the message that relates to the message I'm trying to portray. So bear with me here if this is not your thing. Again, it's just something that I think will help bring the message home a little bit more, because when it comes to the one verse, Matthew 6:33, it says, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. And I think this verse focuses on the importance of prioritizing God's expectations over those of others and even our own. And it suggests that when we align our goals with God's will, we'll find the fulfillment and purpose beyond mere worldly achievements. And I think that's one thing where even me, I criticized Tim Tebow with his decision to leave the NFL because he didn't have an opportunity to be a starting quarterback, when I thought he would have made a great tight end with his size, even a fullback. But that's the thing. That wasn't what he wanted. That wasn't what he thought was right for him. So instead of living up to everyone else's expectations, he lived up to his. And once those were not possible anymore, he moved on to other things. And you have to respect that, because many of us won't make that decision. We'll start to follow the trend that other people, their trends or their expectations for us, just to make ourselves happy, when really we're not doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for other people. And the other verse I wanted to share was the wisdom that I feel comes from Galatians 6:4 that says, each one should test their own actions, then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. This verse encourages self-reflection and accountability, reminding us that in the end, we are responsible for our own actions, our own decisions, regardless of the external pressures that come. In the world of athletics, athletes often face constant pressure to perform according to others' expectations, whether it's, again, the coaches pushing for victories or fans demanding record-breaking performances. And now I feel like it's even worse with gambling within sports. It's just gotten out of hand. But true fulfillment comes from setting and achieving personal goals that align with your values and abilities, regardless of the external validation that people seem to seek. And I've seen many times where, again, another athlete I really admire is Shaquille O'Neal, because many times he's said, I don't want to be, and I didn't want to be the GOAT. I didn't want to be the greatest of all time. I wanted to be the most dominant. And the thing is, there's a difference. There's a difference between those. You can still be great. You can still do great things, be remembered for being great without hitting those goals that others think you should. What drives you determines how hard you really will push yourself. It's why you see some athletes stick around past their prime and be okay with a bench role or minimum minutes per game, because they're doing it for the love of the game, because they love what they do. Meanwhile, you have some athletes that will retire early because they have other goals in life, but then they get laughed at and ridiculed and trolled online. But internally, they're at peace with themselves and at peace with their decisions. And again, that kind of relates to what I was talking about with Tim Tebow. Because when your decisions are born from a strong foundation within, they're impossible to crumble. And another example is a runner that may choose to prioritize personal growth and health over winning races, recognizing that true success lives in self-improvement and perseverance. As I've started mixing in speed work again, I've noticed myself getting faster, and faster to the point where I used to be when I felt like I really was fast. And I'm able to run those paces a lot easier and maintain that pace for a longer distance again. And I've said this before, it led me to start trying to impress others, especially when I would upload. For us runners, we have our watches synced to Strava or Garmin or whatever app you're using. And when you upload, you start to have that little ego when you have a really good run and you're about to upload that and people are going to see it and they're going to start liking it and commenting and things like that. Or then you have a bad one and you want to hide it. You don't want to sync it. You don't want to upload it because you feel like you weren't good enough. And recently I joined this Facebook group called Slow AF Running Club. I'm sure y'all can, I try not to cuss on this, so y'all know what AF means. But I watch people complaining about other runners posting their runs that contain sub 8-minute miles, saying they don't belong in the group because they're fast. But I personally know people, especially runners, who've told me specifically that I shouldn't say I was fast when I was posting and running 7-minute miles. And that confused me, because to me, 7-minute miles was fast. So it comes down to an opinion. And if you care about others' opinions or not, that's going to be what makes or breaks how you handle that. I constantly see people posting questions in that same group asking, what's slow? Am I slow? And I keep trying to I try to chime in when I can. I don't like to get soaked up in social media anymore, but I try to at least put the positive response, because there's a lot of trolls on the internet these days, and some people are sincerely asking those questions. And I just say, like, there's always going to be someone who considers you to be fast and some that are going to consider you slow compared to them. Wherever they are, your pace is either going to be faster or slower. So that answer is going to constantly change. So stop worrying about a definition or a specific time. Like, just run. If you love it, just run. It doesn't matter. Another example is our personal dress style. Someone will always think your style and your outfit is dope and someone's going to think you look stupid. You look ridiculous. There's nothing wrong with being unique. Someone recently told me they considered me a hipster. I had to look it up because I've heard the word before, but I didn't know what it meant. So I was like, is this an insult or is this a compliment? Like, I didn't know how to take it. But, I asked them, okay, once I looked it up, I'm like, all right, well, why do you say that? And they said, because I don't follow any trends and never have. And when I heard that, I took pride in that. Because a lot of times you'll think certain things about yourself, but when you hear it from someone else, it hits a little different. And I took pride in that because it's how I want to portray myself. I always wanted to, as someone unique that didn't follow trends or fashion trends and things like that. Someone who has his own style. And I'll be honest, like, especially during the high school era and a little bit after that, like, I used to go and buy stuff to try and look a certain way, what I thought was cool, and follow those trends. But I never felt comfortable. I never really felt like myself. And I got tired of spending the hard-earned money that I was making trying to impress others when I could be me for cheaper, still like how I look, and I was still getting compliments. So in life, you really have to think about, like, so there's individuals that find greater satisfaction in pursuing their passions and their values, even if it means deviating from society's version of normal or others' expectations. I think there's nothing more beautiful than someone saying, I know so-and-so did it this way, such and such did it that way, but I want to do it my way. We all know I want to be the first in my family to go to college stories. Some find just getting there as an achievement, and that's great. Then there's I want to be the first to graduate from college stories. Even better. But let's be honest, how many of those are self-desires? Most of them are burdens put on them by their family. I have so many Caribbean friends, Haitian, Jamaican, Dominican, Bahamian. Like, I don't know if it's just a Caribbean thing, but it seems like it's a trend with Caribbean parents that they put pressure on their kids to be doctors and nurses. And if they don't go into that field, their parents are disappointed and upset and questioning their decision. But why make yourself miserable to make others happy? Ultimately, the balance between meeting our own expectations and fulfilling others' goals is a delicate journey that requires self-awareness, self-discernment, and again, faith. Because on a biblical side, by seeking guidance from biblical principles and trusting in God's plan, individuals can navigate this tension that we feel, this stress and anxiety. We can navigate that with wisdom and grace by finding fulfillment in both our personal growth and our service to others. On a non-biblical side, simply living your life the way you want to is sadly overlooked. It's your life and it's your happiness that is key, not someone else's. But people continuously want to change others so much when there's no need to. In my coaching class, we learn that there's a form you'd ideally want to mimic when you're running, but that's not always possible. And people will ask why. But it's obvious because we have different features. We come from different paths. We have unique gifts and abilities. We have different forms and body shapes. We have injuries. We have things that happen to us that alter the way we move physically. It's just common sense. So who wants to live in a world where everyone is the same and does the same thing? To me, at least, that's boring. Imagine having multiple kids and they all have the same personality, same interests, same dislikes. Sure, it's going to be easier to maintain and navigate within the family, but that excitement of life starts to lack. The boundless opportunities are restricted. When I drop my son off to school or when I pick him up, I see the qualities in some of the kids that are out there, and some of them I want him to have, but others I don't want him to have. And at the end of the day, he is unique, and I love that more than anything else because he has a little bit of everything in his own style. As as I navigated into being single again and I started dating, you meet people and then you start telling others about them. Outsiders are going to say things coming from their own experiences or their personal expectations of how things should go based off of their opinions. But unless you're with the two people constantly listening to their conversations and physically there to see how they interact with each other and internally feeling about each other, your experiences mean nothing. People will always think what happened to them or what happened in the past will happen to others. Some people that gave me advice, I'll admit, they had good advice. Some didn't. But it's the way they gave it that made a difference to me. It wasn't scolding or criticizing. It was more of a, hey, just be careful because this could happen. People say, when I think about my son and they see him physically active. Hey, you should get your son into sports. They say it all the time, but his mom and I saw the love he has for music and allowed him to go after his passion and not force ours onto him. There's an Andy Mineo song where he talks about not giving country music a chance back when he was in school because it wasn't cool to others. But once he grew out of it, he came to love it. And it reminds me because there's other lines in that song that hit me personally and made me think of how my parents wanted me to date and marry a white woman. But naturally, I'm just attracted to black women. So the stuff I dealt with because of my decision was unfair and something I would hope no one else deals with. But sadly, it happens daily worldwide. So when it comes to running, which I consider my road therapy session, every time I get out there, it's therapy. My mind, I can think, I can release, I can just let go. I've realized I'm not going to these sessions to make my therapist happy. I'm going to make myself happy, to find my own happiness, not its happiness. The keys are in my hand. Where I feel led is where I will travel. If I'm enjoying my pace, you're not going to force me to speed up or slow down. If I'm enjoying my relationship, you're not going to dictate how I like or love that person. I have a friend that's been a 911 dispatcher for 14, 15 years now and said something that hit home when we were having a discussion the other day. Because many years ago, her coworker got a call from someone concerned about a friend wanting to take their life, and she didn't know what to do, so she called 911 to have somebody come check on that person. So now she's never dealt with the situation, so she asked my friend, hey, I just got this call. What do I do in this situation? My friend looks over at the screen, sees the name of the person, tells her friend what to do, runs outside to call that person and try to stop him because she knew him. Come to find out, that person was me. Someone called 911 because, as I've talked about before, with depression and suicidal thoughts and things to that nature, someone called to make sure I didn't hurt myself. And she was right there to see that happen and see the call and tried to go the extra mile to check on me. So the other day when we had that conversation, she said something that really hit me when she said the world is fragile right now. And truthfully, I feel like it's always been, but lately it's gotten worse. Like something happened around COVID that just started changing things mentally. And a huge part of it, I feel like, is the stress to living up to expectations that others put on us. So I want to wrap this up. I didn't want to drag this out and just say a bunch of stuff just to make this a long episode. I know this is going to be a short episode, but it was something on my heart, and I just wanted to put it out because I'm trying to be consistent with y'all and put something out every other week as I promised. And this is what's on my heart. So it's short, but I hope it's sweet and to the point. So as I was gonna say, until the next episode, I say this to you, as I always do. I encourage you to do what makes you happy, as long as you're not harming yourself or others, if you're not putting yourself or someone else in danger. I'm getting emotional now. I'm all for encouraging it, Because I'd rather die. It's getting tough now. I'd rather die chasing my happiness than chasing someone else's. I'd rather fail following my dreams than someone else's. I've done that enough in my life, and I've seen too many people do that and never find happiness. Damn, this is tough. I didn't think I was going to do this. I'd rather fail following my dreams than someone else's. Because through the downs of that journey, I'll have the passion for what I'm doing versus being miserable and going through the motions. If you're happy, that's all that matters. Don't let someone else take your happiness away or keep you from finding it. My good friend Lucian just posted on Facebook how this is going to be the first year since I think 2017, so like 7 years now, where he's not going to run the Keys 100. And I can't speak for him, but I'm pretty sure, I know sometimes you get pressured into that. People ask, and that was the thing when it came to not signing up for the Wildcat 100 last year. I missed that family, but there was a pressure to keep going to that race, not from anyone there, but a pressure I just felt from others. So when he said, I'm not feeling it this year, I'm not running the race, I felt that. Because a lot of times in life, in sports, whatever your journey is, we do things for other people and not for ourselves. So we put ourselves through stuff we don't want to just because we think it'll make someone else happy. So I gotta say, the reason I'm getting emotional is because for the first time in a long time, I'm at peace because I'm happy. I like my life. I like everything and everyone that's in it. So until the next episode, now that I finally gathered myself, find your happiness. Live up to your own expectations and not to others.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe.